Nexxlegacy.
Able to say welcome, one and all. Welcome the universe. All you people out there listening and continue to listen, not just in the States but worldwide. I want to welcome you all to this edition of Branded After Dark. I am Branded.
And I am Sweet Aaron.
And between me and Aaron, we have a guest. The guest that we have tonight is one that it seemed like it's been many, many moons since I've actually wanted to thank this man, not just publicly, but just, man to man. We're not face to face, but, we live on the line. So, I'm pretty sure a lot of people can kind of catch the vibe that we got. But I want to thank this man for not just his contributions to the music industry, but for also the motivation that, it's a lot of songs and a lot of different things that people do. I never look for role models outside what's in the media, but I always get inspired by, people that do bigger than life things as far as with their God-given talent. And I want to welcome former Isley brothers, Isley Jasper Isley. Chris Jasper in the house tonight on Branded After Dark. Chris, welcome.
Hey, man. Hey,
hello.
Thank you, man. Thank you. How you doing?
Great. How are you doing tonight?
I'm fine. Yes. Glad to be here.
Thanks for calling in.
Glad to be hanging out with you guys, man.
You know what, Chris? It's just like I said, man. Your legend is your legend, and your legacy is not just with the Isley brothers, but also with. Come on now. You've had good standing music with. Isley Jasper Isley, and then a lot of your music that you have solo is just, come on now, it stirs up your soul. You know what I mean? So I gotta say thank you, man, for letting the listeners out there with a fan, me being a fan, say thank you for all the stuff that you've done and giving us your God-given talent, man.
Hey, man. Well, I appreciate that because when I'm doing music, I love to record music. I love to write music. I mean, that's my favorite thing about this business is creating new music. And when people like it, I mean, that's what it's all about. And I just appreciate all those good responses.
You know what? It's not just through the, not just through the station, but also through just a lot of people overseas. Like, I'm getting so much Japan love. I'm getting a lot of Australia love, tonight while we're in the States. So, that kind of humbles you a little bit too, right? Just knowing that there's a lot of overseas love, shown to you as well, right?
Oh yeah, man. I'm just so happy that people, like not only here but around the world. I mean, a song like "Caravan of Love," went all over the world. People all over were singing that in bars and their weddings and all kinds of different, assemblies at school, and it's just remarkable that something that comes from your mind goes all over the place. When people like a song, so it's just amazing to see when that happens.
I want to ask you about that, and I don't want to monopolize a lot of Aaron's time because I know she has questions for you too. But we both talked about it just off air not too long ago, and we both said like hands down, like Caravan of Love is one that I feel will be continued to be played 50, 100, 200 years from now. It just kind of goes. It means so much to a lot of people that understands not just the words but how it was delivered and the meaning that kind of goes to it. So when you guys made that song, did you guys step away from it and told yourselves, you know what, this is bigger than life right here?
Well, when I was in the studio, and after we did the track, and I was getting ready to do the vocals, and me and Ernie were standing out there in the not the control room, but the other part of the studio, and the engineer was playing it back of the speakers. He was playing the track, just the music, and I turned to Ernie. I said, Ernie, this sounds like a soundtrack. The music is really, really, really nice. So. I knew from that point when we put down that track that it was going to be special, but I just had no idea of how special it was going to be.
Did it give you chills? Because I can still listen to it this day, Chris, and I still get chills when I hear that song, man. I've heard it probably 50 million times, billion times, whatever, and I still get chills from listening to that song. Still do.
It makes me smile.
Yeah, It's definitely, I was inspired, with that song. That was when I was first starting to understand the scriptures, and it's based on the scriptures. When people become one, or become of one mind, the young will, be with the old, and it'll be harmony and peace on earth. And it's just one of those inspired songs. I mean, I'm thankful, that I was given that inspiration, and it's just one of those things. Like I said, I knew it was special, but I just didn't know how big of a song it was going to be. And like I said, people all over the world appreciate it.
Amen to that.
I love how you guys fused, rock and gospel together. That's awesome to me. It's like two genres that you just don't think would work and mesh well together, but you guys really blew it out of the water, and just, I love that.
Well, what they call, rock and roll and gospel are really not too far apart as far as their origin. The origin of the music is basically the blues. That's where it, originates. Over the years, people have put different spins on the blues. They've amplified it, and the rock and roll, they've kind of put the distortion pedals to it, and fuzz boxes and all kinds of things. But a lot of the guitar players are still playing the blues. Stuff that Jimi Hendrix played, those are blues riffs. So there is a connection there, is what I'm trying to say, between
right.
The gospel music and the rock and roll, because they all come from the same place.
Right. I have. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask. With the song, when you guys did "Shout" or "Twist and Shout," and did you guys ever get to meet the Beatles?
Oh, well, that's kind of before my time. The Shout and Twist and Shout. I was a little guy in Cincinnati taking piano lessons when those came out. I came into picture in like the early 70s,
right.
with stuff like Giving It Back and Love the One You're With, Work to Do. That's when I started to play on the sessions, with the brothers. Me, Ernie, and Marvin, we're the younger guys, that came in.
The classic, the classic "It's Our Thing," "Fight the Power," "For the Love of You," "Between the Sheets."
Yeah.
I go through the list of Isley Brothers music, and of course, I mean, we kind of went the Isley Jasper Isley route, before, but we definitely want to talk about just the time that you had on the Isley Brothers, and the names of the songs that I mentioned. Again, it kind of follows suit. I mean, you being a part of being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I know that meant a lot to you guys as a group. But talk about just that time that was spent making those songs with the Isley Brothers at that point in time in your career when you first took off.
Yeah, that was a very special time, because when I started to play on the sessions, I was going to Juilliard at the time, and I was still in college. I went to and I finished at C.W. Post, Long Island University. But I was using a lot of the things I learned in college, from my classical training, in the songs that I was doing with the brothers, So it was an exciting time. It was a time when I could, utilize, the things that I learned. And, of course, writing the music, that was always a big thing for me, because, I'm a composer. That's the first thing that I am. I'm a composer, then an artist, and then a singer, kind of in that order, because I love composing, and I've always done that from a child. So that whole experience was educational. It was exciting. We got working together. I worked most closely with Ernie. Writing the music. He had a lot of ideas, and so did I. And it was just a very exciting experience to each year have another album come out. And that's what we did. Every year there was a new album, and just a lot of energy and. Touring, we toured off of all those albums. Just a lot going on, during those years.
Just a wild moment with just in general, with as far as the immense popularity that the Isley Brothers had. Not just when you came on board, but a lot of it kind of took flight. During those times with those hits. You know, and every time I think about the Isley brothers, I mean, of course, I go back to, you know, when my mom used to spin the record players, and I used to think, and I grew up on that. And, you know, and I look back, and I know a lot of us kind of feel the same way when we do reach back to our childhood. There's always specific songs and, you know, artists that kind of, you know, really took you to another, you know, it always gets zoned out listening to certain songs, you know what I mean? And my question to you is when you think back on the legacy that was created with the Isley brothers, and, you know, of course, I mean, you're not being a member now, you know, how does that all feel? Is it a surreal feeling just to be able to be a part of this Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and this legacy that was created, and you had a hand in it?
Yeah, it is a little bit. I mean, I didn't even, you know, anticipate that would happen, because when we were writing those songs, there was no talk about the Hall of Fame at all. You know, there was just it didn't even exist. So there was no, you know, forethought about that at all. It just happened all at once. I mean, all of a sudden I got a call one day, and someone said, you know, you guys are going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I said, okay. Sounds good to me. You know, it all came by surprise, you know, yeah. So, but the whole thing, the whole evening, the induction ceremony, all that was, you know, really great. And it was kind of surreal because it was like you know, all the press was there. There was press conferences there. And then there was the presentation, and then a jam session after. It was like a huge evening. So the whole thing was kind of surreal, but, you know, again, a great experience.
What was the reasoning as far as you guys kind of going your separate ways to form Isley Jasper Isley during that time in, what was it, the early to mid-'80s? When you guys formed that group?
Yeah, it's around 84. And it just happened that, you know, for maybe 2 to 3 years before that, you know, the older brothers and the younger brothers, we just kind of trying to get, you know, some financial matters together. I mean, the older brothers had some tax problems that they couldn't seem to resolve, and it was just a financial situation that we couldn't resolve. So it had nothing to do with music, but unfortunately, we couldn't resolve it, and, you know, we just, the three of us had to record an album on our own, you know. So that's what we did. And, you know, Caravan of Love was the big record from it, and, you know, really put Isley Jasper Isley on the map.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, I got to make sure I, you know, shout out Superbad that was released as well from you guys.
Yeah.
So, you know, I got to throw that out there, too. You know, and I wanted to ask that question because, you know, as a, you know, I always seem, you know, to me personally, I always wanted to be a student of music, and when I look at groups such as the Isley brothers, even Isley Jasper Isley, the music that kind of goes on, you wish you can just bottle up these groups and keep them forever, but I understand sometimes people got to go off and do their thing, be it if it's solo or whatnot, and looking back at groups back then to how things are now, we don't really see too many groups still to this day. Do you feel like groups are kind of the thing of the past now, or, you know, there's still pockets of them somewhere that might be able to kind of resurrect the meaning of what a band and or a group means?
Yeah, I wish, and I'm hoping for that. I mean, I think there are some out there, but not nearly to the extent it was when we were, you know, doing what we were doing in the 70s and 80s.
Into that.
I would like to see that happen because when people work together and they collaborate, sometimes you get some really, you know, special things. You know, like when Earth, Wind and Fire was together. You know,
right.
And the Commodores and you know, the Ohio Players. You know, there were so many bands back then, and you had so many different flavors and approaches to R&B music, you know.
Right.
And what I see now happening is a lot of people are kind of going down the same road, you know. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not creating the variety that was there before.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I would like to see more variety come out of R&B music because there's so many different ways you can approach it. And it just so happens that right now, I think in some of the major record companies especially, they're focusing on one avenue. And I would like to see that broaden, you know.
Amen to that. Chris Jasper is our guest on Branded After Dark, and again, I'm one of them old school music guys where I love just music that matters, music that has not just the words that's being sung, but you know how you make me feel when it's being sung. Like, you know, if it's a man, woman, or child, like, you know, I always say, hey, make me feel it when I'm listening to, you know, certain songs. And I know you had a big hand as far as doing production for certain artists. I know you did Liz was it Liz Hogue's debut album?
Liz Hogue, yeah.
And you did something for Shaka Khan as well. So the production side of being not just an artist and, you know, you kind of thinking about yourself and writing the music and doing certain things, but for others, what kind of mindset you got to be in order to start, you know, helping out as far as writing music or doing certain things for other artists?
Well, I think the best way to approach that is to try to get into the mind of the artist that you're writing for and that you're producing. I think if you can do that, you can, you know, pretty much get a product from them that represents them, because you do have to do that. You kind of have to say, well, you know, what would Shaka Khan do? Because that's what happened when I wrote for her. Her producer came to me and said, you know, we're looking for material. You know, do you have something for her? And you know, I had started a song, and I said, well, you know what? I think this could go her way, and so I kind of finished it off, and you know, for her. But in doing so, I kind of thought, I said, well, you know, like, what would she like to sing? How is her approach to a song? You know, because her approach is different than mine. You know,
right?
So you kind of have to think that way. Like, what would she do? You know, and then if you can do that very well, you usually are able to get a product that's good.
Well, does it require you to spend time with who you're writing for?
It doesn't require time, no. It just requires, see, because I was a fan of hers, you know, so I knew all of Rufus's songs. I knew, you know, I just knew what they had done, and that helped me in writing the song for her, because you don't want to go too far out of the direction that artist is going in, you know. And if you can stay in the zone that they're in, you can make a nice record, you know. And that's what I did. Like I remembered all of her songs and all the stuff that she done vocally, and you know, I kind of said, all right, well, you know, this sounds like something she might do, and you know, kind of just crafted the song around her style.
So,
see, Chris, I'm glad you brought that up, because I feel like this, Chris. If you know, me being a fan of yours for a long, long time, I feel like if I had any talent of writing like a real hit song, like I think I know enough about Chris to be able to come up with something real good for this guy. So, you know, I'm just saying.
You know, even with the Isley brothers, I mean, you know, me and Ronald had the same influences vocally. So to write for him, to write songs that he was going to sing, you know, wasn't very hard, because you know, we both love Sam Cooke, and you know, whatever he did, you know, I knew Ronald would sound good singing. You know, it was a similar style, and we both had similar styles. So I was kind of like writing for myself too. You know what I mean? So it wasn't that far of a stretch to do all of those songs, because you know, I was used to the style. So that made it a lot easier.
Would there be anybody that you might, you know, decline writing for because you may not, you know them, or, you know, be able to come up with something, do you think?
Well, yeah, I admit there are some people harder to write for than others. Yeah, but I don't know. I haven't been given that challenge yet. You know, I mean, I like challenges too.
You're just that good. You can write for anybody. That's what we say.
Well, I believe I could, but I would just sometimes it would take a little more effort for some other people than others, you know. But I you know, it just takes a little research, a little like what we used to call woodshedding, you know, going in the studio, and some trial and error here and there, and because that's basically what you do with every song, and it would just take a little more work sometimes with other people, but I think I could do it.
And Aaron, real quick, FYI, Aaron, at the end of the day, this is Chris Jasper, music icon. He can write for whoever, and it's all good.
I know that's right.
It is all good.
I know that's right.
No, go ahead,
all
Aaron.
On a Caravan of Love.
Got that right.
I was just wondering, like, is there anybody out there today that, you would like to maybe work with, or that,
I would
like to write for
many, many years, I've wondered what it would be like to work with Stevie Wonder, because he's one of my influences too. Coming up, even from when he did Little Stevie Wonder and Fingertips and all that stuff, So I've always been a fan of his, and I would just like to, just wonder what that would be like, because he's just a great musician and singer and everything. So,
right.
Before I ask you anything about, everything that's going on with you, what about today's music when it comes to it? Not just, to me, I always feel like, R&B is like, traditional, where tradition means like, you display your God-given talent, and vocally everything that you're singing about, should be felt through the souls of everybody listening. How do you feel about just the genre of R&B music today in 2013?
I think I have to go back to what I alluded to before. I think there are some good things happening, but I just don't think there's enough variety, in R&B, because R&B is a huge. There's so much potential in R&B, and I don't think as a nation, of recording artists, that we're utilizing the full scope of R&B now. We've kind of narrowed it, into a small little, corner.
Right.
When I think we could get a lot more out of it. If people would just, start, writing more songs in other directions than say just the typical thing you hear on the radio every day.
Right. How do you feel about, in today's R&B, you've got your typical, rap verse in it. Are you cool with that, or do you, prefer
where it fits,
R&B?
I would say where it fits is fine. But where it doesn't fit, I think that's another thing. Knowing where to put things and where not to put things. Sometimes I hear like people will put that in a record just because rap is popular,
Right.
And it didn't really fit the record, I just think it should come in where it's supposed to, and if the song is going in a direction where it should be just vocals, it should just be vocals. If it sounds like, a rap a part could come in, then by all means, put it in there. But I just think that the scope of music, of R&B, is not being utilized. The broad, scope of it, because you had like George Benson out there at one time too, which added a jazz flavor to it. You had so many different types. You have Philadelphia International, which was another area. You had the Isley Brothers. You had Earth, Wind, and Fire. You had so many different types of R&B out there. You had the folk type of R&B with Bill Withers, the folk blues.
Right.
It was so much going on, and I was glad to come up in that era, because it was so rich, and the variety was so rich. You could draw from so many moods, so many aspects of R&B music. And I think that's why it's still classic today, is because of the variety. That's why that music will never die, because it's so diverse and it's so good in the diversity. With the Motown on one side and Philly on the other side. Then you had Stax on the other hand, Isaac Hayes. You had so many different great aspects of R&B.
Right. Would you say that most of that isn't continuing to exist because most artists today don't do their homework?
I will say this. A lot of people that were writing music and doing arrangements and production back then, a lot of them were classically trained. They could write charts. They could write for different instruments. They knew the ranges of different instruments. They could write for them. Like Motown, all of their music was, written by arrangers, who knew music. They were trained in music. And I think that's lacking. I hear nowadays that a lot of schools are, limiting their fine arts programs and things like that. And some of the younger people aren't getting that good foundation in music. And maybe that's affecting the music, the music going just one direction,
Absolutely.
I was classically trained, so that's why I can go in different directions. I can score a film right now if someone can call on me to do so. I have the ability to go in, write all the music parts, conduct it, and just do it. But a lot of people don't have that ability. They have to rely on maybe someone else to do that. So and the people that wrote for the Philadelphia International, they were trained musicians. They could write parts. They knew music inside and out. So I think that's the difference. And you hear it in the music. You really do.
Right. You do.
And that's what I mean by I wish the scope of R&B would be larger, because I think that everyone would benefit from it. You'd have you have so much to choose from.
Right.
We have a handful of things
right.
to choose from, and Chris Jasper is our guest on Branded After Dark. I mean, I always look at it as creativity as well. It's like, there's a lot of creative people out there. And, and I don't want to put a blame on the record label. Record labels, they are what they are. I mean, especially the way that it is now, it's kind of gotten to the point where everybody is more or less just, being a little bit more independent. So if you do have that independence, it's up to you to be creative to be able to win those fans for the long run, instead of, trying to fit into a box that you think everybody else is going to like just because, somebody else is the hottest guy or girl, then let me go ahead and sing or perform like them, and maybe I can be able to get some fans. And that's not how it works, as long as you stay creative, right?
You're absolutely right. And that's why, the Internet is picking up steam, is because they're doing exactly what FM used to do.
That's right.
AM radio used to have the strict format. I think they played like 13, 14 records. But FM came along, and they start playing everything, and they took it over, And then now the Internet is doing what FM used to do. Now the FM stations have their strict formats, and, now the Internet is picking up all of these different varieties of music, and, it's going to change. People go to what they want to hear, and sometimes it takes, some of the larger stations to get that message, but the Internet is really picking up, its audience, and it's worldwide. It's not just a city. When you drive out of city limits, you can't get it anymore. That's how it used to
Chris,
be.
I know how that's like. You know
what I mean? You drive a few miles, and then you start getting the static. But the Internet, you can get all over the world,
Right.
And Internet is, taking a big chunk, out of the listeners.
Wait till they start getting some of the Internet stations into their cars. I know it's happening in some pockets, but wait till they get all of it. Once they do, it's really going to change to the point where
you know what that's
going to
do.
really
that's going to be it. That's going to be it, because people want to hear variety. People, they love variety. We all do. We don't want to hear the same thing over and over and over again. That's why AM didn't make it. When FM came in, because that's all they were doing. They were playing 13 records all day long. And then FM came in, and they said, "Wow, oh, this sounds good. They're playing a little jazz. They're playing a little this. Hey, I really listen to this.
Right.
And that's what happened.
And now they're playing the same two hits every.
Yeah, right. Right now the FM is doing the same thing. The AM, it's like people don't pay attention to history.
Right.
And it's repeating, but it's repeating on FM now. Now the internet is picking up, you know.
Yep, absolutely. So, let me ask you this, Chris, because you know, I've had a chance to, you know, not just you know, follow you throughout it seemed like my entire life, so to speak, but you know, I was able to, you know, catch, you know, the gospel albums that you actually dropped, not just, what was it, for Gold City Records at one point in time.
Yes.
But I gotta commend you. I gotta commend you on, you know, just, you know, a lot of people talk about transition, and I don't necessarily see it as a transition from, you know, R&B to gospel or anything like that, because, you know, in a lot of ways, it's always music made for the soul. So whatever you sing is supposed to touch you. So, you know, a lot of people out there that may not have known, just you know, kind of speak to some of the, you know, just some of the gospel recordings that you've actually come out with, and you know, the goal is to be able to get the word out, you know, regardless of what genre it is. But, you know, how does that feel, you know, basically just having also, you know, the gospel music to be able to be a part of, that you can say, hey, you know what, I did it and did it well.
Yeah, well, you know, that's part of who I am. I mean, I try to live my life, you know, by Jesus and his principles, and that's me. So when I do a record, like what a person would call a gospel record or an inspirational record, that's truly, you know, what I believe. That's who I am, and I try to maintain my musical identity. I don't try to change the music that I've always done. You know, the music is R&B, you know, but the message is different. You know,
right.
I want to put God's message in those records, but I didn't necessarily change my musical identity. That music is just as R&B as any of the music I've ever done. You know, but the message, like I said, that's what makes gospel. Gospel is the message. What are you saying? Right. You know, and I think it's important to say important things in my music, not just, you know, praise God, which is, of course, necessary, and of course, God is worthy of praise. But it's not that's not the only thing God wants us to know. You know, He wants us to know something about Him, about His ways, how to live. You know, and I address a lot of those things in my gospel music. And I've recorded 4 albums, you know, that are totally inspirational or gospel, whichever we want to say. And they have a lot of instruction in it, and a lot of good things, you know, from the scriptures in there. So I'm very, very, very happy that I done them, and you know, I might do another whole gospel album. I have some gospel songs on Inspired, my new album. You know, because I feel that's a part of life. You know, inspired by love, by life, and by the Spirit. You know, it covers all the things that we would address in life. You know, love relationships. It addresses, you know, issues that we run into every day. You know, social issues, and also addresses the spiritual aspect of life. And that's what I tried to cover on my new CD.
And this new CD that's coming, is it? Can you give us a timetable on when this is actually going to be out for the?
It's out now. It's out now. You could go right to iTunes or CD Baby or Amazon, or even go to chrisjasper.com, and you know, you can find it. You can even, you know, ask your retailer, you know, about it. It's out there.
Ooh, you were quick to talk about, you know, iTunes, CD Baby, Amazon, the whole deal. So I take it you're doing pretty well with the online social media and just being able to grind out as much as you can internet wise. You know, compared to back in the day, we were just dealing with. Come on, you know, we're both close to the same age. Records, you know, 8-tracks, tapes, all that stuff, right?
Oh, yeah, right. And the traditional distribution, you know, line, you go from your manufacturer to your to a distributor if you're an independent, and then there to the one-stops, and then to the retail, you know, the mom-pop stores. I mean, that's just the way it went, you know. You had to go through those channels. But now the Internet makes it more accessible. A person doesn't have to leave home, you know, to buy a record that they like. You know, they can download it, you know, or they can just order it online and it'll be delivered to their house, you know. So it's much easier access now than it used to be.
That's right. Going to chrisjasper.com to go ahead and get that. I'm definitely going to be one of them before this show ends a little bit later on. And before we let you go, a couple of quick questions. And one is, you know, while you're adapting to social media well, How about just all these online social media networks like Twitter, Facebook, MySpace for those people out there that still use it? How do you feel about all these little, different types of avenues? I know you're a fan of it because you're adapting to it, but it's an easy access for your fans to really reach you, right?
Yeah, that I was going to say that. Before, you couldn't really contact the fans. The fans couldn't contact you really.
Right.
So and Facebook offers that type of situation, and I find that people are they drop messages. They say how much they like the music, and then you can have a conversation with them. Right there. So I think that adds another dimension to what I do. You know what I mean? It's just a thing that wasn't available before, and I think it's a good thing.
Amen to that.
We're very happy that because I know as a fan, it's we love it because we can actually tell you and get that more of a personal connection with you, versus back in the day where you were just throwing something up in the air and hoping everybody liked it, or you really didn't know.
Right.
So.
Right, yeah,
really
you can get people's responses right away too.
Right.
Like you could put something up there, and then right away people say, "Oh yeah, I like that," and you get the reaction immediately, which is really great. And which, like I said, when we were doing all those albums before, we like you said, we didn't have no idea, what was going to happen, So
yeah, and thank God for social media because, like I said to start the show, it seems like it's been a lifetime, and it seems like I grew up with you, and it seems like I waited for so long just to say, thanks, Chris. Thanks for coming out with some nice music just so we can be able to, appreciate what you've done, because a lot of people fail to realize and either take it for granted or whatever, but being able to put in the kind of work that you do, not just the singing and the arranging and the music and all that stuff that comes with it, this is God-given talent that you're sharing for everybody else out there. Now, we love it when record labels and, records sell and CDs sell and online things sell and things like that. But to me, as a fan of music, it's deeper than that. It's deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
It's deeper in a sense where it's hey, you know what? This is talent first. So I want to make sure that I appreciate and say thank you for the talent that you've given us first. And then, hey, let's ride that caravan of love and celebrate all those songs that, you helped us grow up with. So thanks, Chris.
Thank you, man. Like I said, it's a communication thing. Music is communication, from one person to another. And when that goes well, that means the job was well done. So I appreciate that. I really do appreciate it when I hear somebody really likes the music. That makes me feel really good.
Absolutely.
It's deeper than that, Chris. I grew up with you, man. We were brothers before we were brothers, man.
We did. Yeah, so did I. So did I. And I mean, it's music that I actually can put on and actually relax to. It's not. It doesn't have my nerves in a bunch. I'm happy. I'm smiling. I'm relaxed. I feel good. You know what I mean? It's not something that's. I don't feel like a nervous wreck when I'm listening to it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, music should make you feel good. I mean, that's what I think.
Absolutely.
Some people say, well, it should shake you up. Some people take that approach. Well, I don't think even funk should make you feel good.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't disturb. It shouldn't be disturbing. That's what I feel.
Right.
And that's the difference.
I know, right?
That's the difference between harmony and dissonance.
Right.
Harmony makes you feel good. Dissonance puts you on edge. So I've always been on the harmonic side of things. I like harmony. I like harmony.
And it shows very well.
That's right. I mean, your legend is your legend, and it continues to grow with the album that's available. You can go pick it up at chrisjasper.com, which I'm actually going to do myself. And as I let you go, one last question. One question that I have is for the young people out there that's just getting involved with music and just trying to pick up some of the, information not just about you and your time with the Isley brothers and Isley Jasper Isley, but all your solo music and stuff like that. So, to the new fans, the young ones growing up, why should they pick up a Chris Jasper CD?
They should pick up my CD because what they hear is honesty. I don't record anything I don't believe in. I'm an honest person. I believe in God. I have a tremendous faith in God. And I believe if you hear my music, you'll benefit in some way from it. It'll make you feel better. You may even get some things that you haven't heard before. There's some educational things in my music, like in Keep Believing on this album. It's talking about education and how to keep pursuing your dreams, keep achieving. There's a lot of education in the words of Superbad that you mentioned before. That's a song about education. I want to put important messages in my music. And if they buy a Chris Jasper album, I'm sure they're going to hear something that they like and they can learn from too.
Amen to that. Well, I want to thank you for allowing me to thank you for the music contributions you made. And I want to thank you for coming in. And to me, it is a truly, truly honor and a blessing to be able to have you come in and not just talk to Aaron and myself, but all the listeners worldwide. And it's like I said, to me, I always say music is a lot deeper on a spiritual level because there's a connection that's being made, with a fan of music, and you have given me that throughout the years, and it's a privilege to let you know that I've appreciated you for a long time and continue to, and I will support you 110%, sir.
Well, thank you so much for that. I mean, you don't know how much that means to me to hear, that kind of a comment because, that's one of the things you look for when you do a work of art is that it's appreciated to that extent, and I just can't tell you how much that means. It means a great deal to me.
Yes, and
all night tonight. Real quick before you say your goodbyes, Aaron. All night tonight, we're gonna continue to push, all things Chris Jasper. Of course, we're gonna play Caravan of Love. We're gonna play Inspired. Only the Lord Can Do. We're gonna mix in a couple of different things, and we're gonna take some calls from callers a little bit later on, just to kind of help celebrate and direct traffic towards your .com, so we can go out there and support you like a real true fan should. So that's what we're going to do tonight. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, I'll be tuned in. You can bet on that.
Well, I just want to say I thank you for all your many, many great years of music. It's awesome that, and I applaud you for staying true to yourself and being, your authentic self and what you give to us. And I'm proud to be a fan. I really am. I grew up listening to you, and I continue to grow old listening to you. And you make it real easy to do that.
Well, that's great.
Thank you so very much to call us.
And thank you. That's greatly, greatly appreciated. I can't tell you how much. Thank you.
Hey, I'm not just a fan, man. Chris is my brother, man. He is my brother.
That's right.
I want to be Aaron Isley, okay?
Hey, it's in there. So, I put it in Caravan. I'm your brother, don't you know?
Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, if more people would realize that, we'd have a better world, wouldn't we?
You better believe it. You better believe it. Hey, but you know what? Between you, me, Aaron, and the rest of the world that's listening, that appreciates what all things is, not just radio, but music and things, we're on our way. I mean, we may be a drop in the bucket, but guarantee you, it's going to start overflowing real quick as long as we have that inspiration. So that's how we do it.
Amen to that.
Appreciate it, Chris Jasper, for calling in.
All right,
Thank
man.
you.
You guys take
Have
care.
A good one.
You
all right,
too.
you do the same. That
Bye
is
now.
Music Icon.
Nexxlegacy.